Finally tonight, people in Plymouth, Massachusetts had big plans to mark the 400th anniversary of the Pilgrims' arrival. But then COVID happened. And well, you know. Still, like this year, the real story of that first Thanksgiving gathering is complicated. Here's CBS's Nancy Chen.
A newly restored Mayflower II returned to Plymouth, Massachusetts this summer, nearly 400 years after its namesake original first arrived on these shores. The Pilgrims on board, cramped and cold, hoping for a better future.
What happened here really shaped American history.
Michelle Pecoraro is the executive director of Plymouth 400, a nonprofit that commemorates the Pilgrims and their legacy. This year, they added collaborators who were left out of past anniversary events.
We have Wampanoag board members. We have a Wampanoag advisory committee made up of Native people. So it is the first real attempt to have a historically accurate and a culturally inclusive commemoration.
A member of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, Steve Peters, created an exhibit for Plymouth 400 called Our Story.
It sort of marks the beginning of the end for my people here. You know, it's important that people understand it so that they can start to be a little bit more humane and compassionate.
The Wampanoag people have lived here for thousands of years. A lethal pandemic nearly wiped all of them out before the Pilgrims' arrival. That tragedy made the Wampanoag more receptive to new alliances. The two groups came together after the fall harvest in 1621, what we now call Thanksgiving. They lived side by side for 50 years until war broke out, devastating the Wampanoag and their way of life. That part of the story isn't often told when we gather for Thanksgiving.
Really, so much is left out of history. Just because it's written down does not mean that it is A, completely truthful, and B, the only way of expressing it.
Event organizers are careful to call this 400th year a commemoration, not a celebration. Peter says this week he will still have a feast. He will also remember.
We give thanks for our ancestors' ability to persevere in spite of every obstacle that's been faced in front of them over the past 400 years since the European arrival and the colonization of this country. So that's what we give thanks for.
Nancy Chen, CBS News, Plymouth, Massachusetts.
What a great message.